Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com, BidamountLive.com, and P.L. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. Happy New Year's Eve to everybody. Today's, as you all know, December 31st, 2021, last day of the year. It's cold and damp here today, but it's not doing anything. I guess up in New Hampshire they're getting a little bit of snow, which is good. And I hope everybody had a nice Christmas. We did. Had some family over for dinner. Had dinner at my sister's house down in Marblehead, actually, on Christmas Eve. It was very, very nice seeing her and getting caught up. And here we are. All right. We have no plans for tonight, other than I think we're going to be cooking a tenderloin, but or something like that. But any rate, yeah, we're here, and I'm finishing up the week, and it's been kind of busy around here this week between one thing and another. But one of the things I wanted to mention before we get started was we've added some things to the reference section this week. Some books that were published that we came across. We've had some of them we've had for a little while that we've been trying to get to because we have a big pile of stuff always. And they are publications from the Metropolitan Museum. They're books. These aren't pamphlets or brochures. These are books. And sold them a number of years ago. And now the Metropolitan Museum, when their books sell out, typically they then put them up as free PDFs, and we can get a hold of them and grab them and convert them back into books again, which makes it kind of fun. So if you come over to the reference section, click that. Come over here, and you're going to find right now we put up 5 this morning. And there's some pretty good things in here, especially if you like Japanese art and you're interested in early Chinese art. There's some good books here. You want to read them, and I'm going to go through them really quickly. One of them is Netsuke, Masterpieces from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They have a great collection of Netsukes, and this book was put out, I think, about 25 or 30 years ago. But it's beautifully done, lots of information, and it's a fairly big book. I forget how many pages are in here. 121 illustrated pages, but there's a lot of content. As you can see, there's lots and lots and lots of Netsukes. Many of them are in black and white because these were done back before they did a lot of color printing at the Met when they published books. Originally, they were often just in black and white because of cost and whatnot. There's some good color examples thrown in, though, of course, on top of it. And I forget when this was published. This was published, let's see, 1982. All right, so you want to check that out if you're a Netsuke buyer. The other thing is Bridge of Dreams, the Mary Griggs Burke collection. Mary Griggs Burke and her husband, I should go back a little bit. They've been very involved with the Metropolitan Museum in New York since the 1960s. And they were very close friends with the director of the museum, Mr. Montebello, and other directors. They were big supporters of the Japanese art section there. And they amassed an enormous collection, and an a very important collection of Japanese art. And everything from early carved sculptures and pottery, all the way through paintings and scrolls and screens and whatnot. This book is, if you love Japanese paintings, check this book out. It is the core of their collection, as much as they had of so many things. But the real core were paintings and screens, and there's just piles of them in here. And this is a big book, 450 page book. And it's on here right now, and go through it. It's worth reading. A lot of good information, some really good insights into the collection, and all kinds of things. So if you're a Japanese collector or you're interested in learning about it, the Griggs Burke collection, Mary Griggs Burke collection, is a great place to start. And then the next section, there are 2 books that were put up that we got on the Mongols, on the Yuan dynasty, which had such a huge effect on Chinese art and culture and trade, especially, as everybody knows, because they expanded the empire so vastly with trade routes going all the way into the Middle East. The Mongol Empire was then, and it remains today, the largest empire ever on the face of the earth as far as area goes in population. And this is the world of Kublai Khan, and it's a very, very good book. excellent. Lots of good information, lots of prime examples of some of the real gems in the Met collection. And I think there's some loan pieces in here too that they did for this exhibition. But as you can see, it is a very voluminous book with a lot of illustrations. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And this is also a almost 359, 360 page book. So I would strongly recommend, if you're interested in Mongol art, Yuan Dynasty, porcelain, cultural arts of the period, you want to check that out. And then next after that is The Legacy of Genghis Khan, courtly art and culture. And it's equally as good and has a lot of things that aren't in the other book. So you want to do that. And then last but not least is this book. And I bought this book when it came out new. I already have the other ones there too. But I particularly like Chinese textiles and silk. I love Central Asian textiles, Persian textiles, and so forth. And this is a book that came out 23 years ago, and I remember getting it, and it was just excellent. It's called When Silk Was Gold, and it tells the story of in the history of silk trading out of China, beginning in the Han Dynasty and before, and focuses in on the real key periods of when silk export, silk trade, the impact silk had. For example, at one point, silk was more valuable per ounce than gold. And that's literally true in the Tang Dynasty. And how they produced it, how they shipped it, how the Chinese so carefully protected how it's made. It was a great secret for a long, 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 long time until, the story goes, the Jesuits smuggled the first silkworms out of China inside of a cane. And that's one of the stories that's been around for years, and nobody's disputed it too much. But Europe was unable to make silk up until I don't know, the 13th or 14th century. But at any rate, China controlled that market, and how they controlled it, and how silks were made, and how they harvested it, and everything, and then all of the different types of silk that were produced. And this is a great book. This is one of the best books on silk out there, and I would urge you to read it if you're interested in Chinese silks and textiles. Just beautifully done, profusely illustrated from all periods. Most of the pictures, as you can see, are in color. And this is a pretty big book too. It goes up to 250 pages, but it's packed with text, packed with good information, and Central Asian art and is inextricably linked to Chinese art. There's to do with the trade routes. Fascinating book. All right, there's your reading for the week. All right, and we have some more we're going to upload. We have to go through them to see if they fit, but we pulled down. I think we've got another 8 or 10 to go. But those are the ones we could get cataloged up and put up this week. So if you're out poking around over the weekend, you have a few quiet moments, go to the bookcase and do some reading. It's good reading. The other thing I wanted to mention was, because we were doing the identification assistant thing again, and found a faster way to reply to them, because sometimes because of technology, and when I'd injured my hand last year, the beginning of the year, typing became difficult, so we decided to do them in videos, as video replies, and we finally were able to get some software that could do them much more quickly. So they weren't quite so time-consuming, and that's what we did. But one of the things I wanted to mention, and I mentioned it to people that have sent some inquiries in, if you have access, because a lot of them are members of the global member pages that send things in that they see, and I always remind people, look at the report card section we have on the global member pages. This is the subscriber thing that costs $4 a month. All right, because one of the great things that's in here is this, and this is the auctioneer's report card. There's 388 auctioneers on here. We've actually taken out a few because they've gone out of business, thankfully, because they were selling really bad stuff. But we've gone through here and we ranked them like a school report card, A through F, with comments on every single auction house and what we think and what you should do. So if you're looking on the global member pages, which is very full right now, by the way, for live auctioneers, Sotheby's and Bonhams have some things coming up, and I'm going to go through them in a minute. But always check before if you're looking at something and you're thinking of doing a purchase, check the auction house's reputation on here before you go too far with contemplating a purchase. Because it'll save you a lot of headaches. There are people on here that say avoid always, and these are the people that get Fs, and there are a lot of Fs on here, a lot of Ds, a lot of D minuses. There's a lot of problems with a lot of auction houses, but there's some very good auction houses in here that you can go with. So, but don't forget that page is there, and you should use it. Really should. All right, now over on the global member pages, what's going on? It has filled up. This is the live auctioneers page. A lot of stuff came back in just before Christmas, and between Christmas and now that we've added, and this is just a bit of it. This is like 1/5 of what's on the page, what you've seen so far. There's a ton of content on here, Japanese and Chinese, lots of robes, lots of blue and white pieces, the Gallery Zach sale, some other sales here in the U.S. and Europe, and on and on and on and on. And also for the textile buyer, this is one of my little pet things. The Austrian Rug Company has a sale coming up, and they have some very nice Chinese and Central Asian textiles, carpets, bag faces, rugs, all that kind of thing. So definitely check that out. All right, there's some nice Turkoman pieces in here, nice early Turkoman pieces. They always have them if you like them. And there's some good Chinese examples on here. I particularly like this Ningxia sitting rug right here in the lower right. Modest estimate, $200 starting bid, €200, but nice example. And then you have all these animal weavings, tribal weavings, chevals, mafrashes, Turkoman bags, and that kind of things, bag faces. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, so check that out. And this is it. This is the one of the rugs that caught my eye that's in the Austrian Rug Company sale. It is a Farrahan Saruk saddle cover, and these are really quite beautiful and utilitarian. This is literally a saddle cover. The saddle would sit up on top of it, and it would sit on top of the saddle, and then the reins would come up through these slots here and so forth, just to make riding a little bit more comfortable. And this looks like a very nice example. It looks like it has an old patch maybe here in the middle, but this is a nice, beautiful example with a good clear red, nice outer borders, finely woven. And if you collect animal trappings from the Middle East, you might want to look into this. It's got a €800 to €1,200 estimate, which is about within range, and a €400 opening bid. But Austrian Rug Company, I've seen things on here go for a lot less than the estimates, so they're not big on reserves. I'll tell you that. The other thing is that this is a sale that's coming up. This is Adams over in Ireland. It says this coming up. It's a very nice Kangxi Amari pattern wine cooler. With mass candles, reasonably estimated €800 to €1,500. Get a condition report, of course, but opening bid of only €400. I thought that looked like a pretty good thing. And then this is an unusual thing. We talk about the expensive things that sell all the time, and this is Leland Little in Hillsborough, North Carolina. Leland Little is a good auction house. There's somebody that we follow. There's a number of good auction houses in North Carolina too. It's not just them. Bronx is down there. There's a few others that are quite good, but Leland Little has done a good job over the years, and they have this platter. And if you're a collector of Chinese porcelain and you can't, you're not really in the ballpark to spend $10,000 or $20,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, check out Leland Little sales. Okay, he has things like this. It's very unusual, blue bordered but with famille rose central ground. This big platter. Now it looks like it may have had a repair down here, or maybe oily dirt. I don't know, because the plate looks pretty dirty too. So call and find out, get a condition report on it. But stuff like that, this will bring probably $300 or $400. It's, how big is this? 14 and a half inches long, almost 15 inches. But they have nice examples like this that are buyable, and they're shippable from within the United States. And you don't have to blow your kid's college fund to do it. All right. And the other thing I spotted was this. I don't know how many of you saw this. This is kind of funny. This is at Doyle's in New York. And I haven't talked to them down there to find out what this is about. This is a lot of approximately 233 pieces of Chinese export porcelain. And this is obviously just a little bit of it here. But it looks like to be mostly Canton wares, Canton boxes, Canton bottles, a bidet, all this other stuff, leaf form dishes, tureens, candlesticks, lighthouse form teapots, salt cellars, all this other stuff. You want to, if you're a dealer, you want to look into this lot. I don't know what the condition of the stuff is. I don't know what the other pieces are. I assume this is pretty representative of what's in there. But 233 pieces with an estimate of $5,000 to $7,000. That's a thing you want to. If you're a dealer and you're in the New York area, you want to go through and calculate this out, because this you could maybe make some money with this lot if it sells anywhere within that estimate. I think there's a profit to be had. 233 item lot. It sounds like it all came out of one estate and the family just wants it gone. So there you go. All right. Now, what else is going on here? Bonhams over in London. I mentioned this last week. There's that sale coming up with all the interesting lots in it, all things that are in what I call the buyable range, in the $400 to $3,000 range in there, and some generous lots, especially for dealers. And you know what to do with those. You buy them, split them up, and sell them off, and and if you want, keep one or two pieces for yourself. All right, but there's some pretty good lots in here, good examples, mixed lots like this. So check that out carefully. And the other thing I wanted to mention, Sotheby's, tying in with, I think, sort of Americana Week. They have a lot of interesting things coming up. Nice pair of China trade paintings. And don't be intimidated just because it's Sotheby's. Somebody said to me, well, I can't really buy at Sotheby's because they're so big. You can buy at these companies. They want you to buy from them. Same with Christie's and Bonhams. They have huge names, huge name recognition, and don't be intimidated by that. If you see something you like, contact them, say you're interested. They will work with you. All right, I guarantee it. And don't let the big reputation scare you away necessarily, because every once in a while some pretty good stuff comes out of there, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. But one of the lots I wanted to mention that are coming up in the next sales. This one is on January 24th. Is this? There are some other. It's interesting. It's on the live auctioneers section over on the global pages. There are two Qianlong figures that are in there as well, very similar, 18th century. And Sotheby's has a pair of them this time around. And they're not quite a pair, they're a near pair. They're very, very, very similar. There are slight differences in the lower border decorations around the bottom here, that kind of thing. Very slight differences. And the vase here is pink, the vase here is white, and so forth. However, they are beautiful. These are just elegant. The gilding is still in good shape on them. And these are beautiful, beautiful examples dating to around 1770, 1780, but wonderful export examples. Spectacularly attractive. And these are good size. These are 16 inches tall. These are not small 5 or 6 inch figures. These are, a foot and a half tall a piece. And with a $5,000 to $7,000 U.S. estimate, which is not bad. Those of you, we've seen them bring that much on eBay, so don't be intimidated. If you think you like them, get a condition report and chase them. But one thing that I wanted to mention was there are a lot of Chinese export bowls that are floating around from the 18th century. I mean, they're not, you can't pick them up at the local store necessarily, but there's a lot of them available on the market somewhere at some time, at any given time. This is one of the rarest punch bowls that'll probably come up from the export market at auction this year. And what it is that we've all heard the stories how the Europeans would send drawings and so forth over to the decorators in Qingdacheng, and from that they would reproduce them, and we've seen they use engravings, they've done other things. And then we've heard how they would ship them back, and in England where they made Delft, and in Holland where they made Delft, they would copy them. And this sort of began in the late Ming, early Qing dynasty, where they would copy Kangxi-looking vases, for example, Kangxi bowls. Okay, this is the opposite. This bowl is the only type known, the only pattern known, where they shipped Delft, English Delft, from England to China to be copied. In other words, it wasn't done from an engraving or a print. They actually sent a type of Delft bowl that was made in England and has been documented. Like a fellow did the research back in the 1980s on it, and sent this over. And this is a really interesting bowl because it commemorates some kind of a wedding, and they don't know whose wedding it is necessarily. There's a lot of speculation. But here's a picture of the interior with this great big fat hen and all of the chicks running around it, which I suspect the Chinese found rather funny because of the chicken cups and the chicken motifs and how they use them. But here's an enormous hen sitting next to a lake with this beautiful Rococo rim and dated 1759. And that is about the time that the Delft original was sent over there. And on the front of it is this. All right, and there are a few of these bowls around with this pattern on it, but very, very few. Extremely rare. And that's why I said this may be the rarest punch bowl to turn up in the market this year from the export world. Extremely rare. And it's pretty good size. I think it's what is it, 11 inches, 15 inches in diameter. Extremely rare piece of Chinese porcelain. I can't emphasize that enough. And on this side of it is a procession of people, and they appear to be going to the church that's on the other side of the bowl. And here they are coming up a hill, getting in graduated sizes, so to give a sense of distance. So the smallest people are further away, and these people are closer, I guess, was the artist's intention. And they were going to, going to this church. They're coming in, you can see the first figures coming in here, and they're marching around to this church. And it may be for the wedding or whatever, because there are monograms on this, but really fascinating. So if you're a Chinese export collector, I think you want to check this out. And I think the estimate's low. All right, if it goes in that estimate range, I think somebody got an absolute steal. Very, very unusual, okay? Now, what's going on? eBay last week. Like I've been saying for a couple of weeks, it's been a little quiet on there. So a lot of you have noticed a lot of the sellers took some time off in December. And part of it, too, is that eBay sellers have learned, those who have done it for a while, have learned that you don't want to have a lot of antiques in transit going internationally around the Christmas holidays because they can end up in the back of a bin and stay there until the end of February. Because the post offices get so backed up. We didn't see any problem around here. Our packages all came remarkably quickly this year, but New England is small physically. So if you ordered something, I did a lot of my Christmas shopping online for some very nice stores in New Hampshire that I like, and for my wife and things, so they came overnight. But international packages can get really bollocksed up. So I think a lot of sellers took some time off. But a few things were on there last week that sold and did pretty well. The ceramics and collectibles guys, Shangri-La over in the Netherlands, they had a sort of an end of the year sale, they called it. I guess they sort of branded it up as a sale. And they sold this, a very nice Hongxi period, late 15th century bowl with fish, with carp on it and fish and waves, loosely drawn, pretty charming looking bowl. Pretty charming looking, nice sort of quick brush strokes, swirly, devices underwater, fish and all that business. And somebody picked it up for $610, which I think is a pretty good buy. That's a nice looking bowl. It's nicely shaped. The bottom of it's pretty clean. Not a lot of gunk hanging off of it. And Hongxi bowls are fun because they were often very loosely drawn, and they're early. They're typically, they're all 15th century, so they're very nice. All right, now this was an interesting lot. It went for $485, and it's a graduated set of 3 matching Chinese export tankards from the 18th century. It's a rather nice example. 3 nice examples. They look to be in pretty good shape. The seller said there were a few chips and nicks around the rim, but nothing much to worry about. But to get them in one swoop in 3 graduated sizes, matching identically, is a pretty good thing for a collection. And somebody picked it up, all 3, for $485, which comes out to about $150 a piece, which is a pretty good buy. And then on to this. This was sold by our friend Hans over in the Netherlands. His first name is Fiek, and in Amsterdam. And it was this beautiful Kangxi period plate. This was elegantly decorated plate, about 10 inches or so in diameter, but beautiful, beautiful border decorations with fungi running around it. and very nicely done, very delicate cobalt underglazed blue decoration, and then this strong textile pattern repeat around the inside of the cavetto, and then up to the rim you have this nice, these typical sort of, very well-known cross-hatching devices, and then again these lingbai, or these fungi and flowers pop up everywhere on it, and somebody really liked it. A number of people really liked it. It ended up selling for $2,175, but it was extremely pretty, very unusual. This is a fairly rare pattern done like this, and it was in very good condition. There was not a lot of wear to the enamels that I could see at all. It looked to be in excellent, excellent condition, and condition goes a long way on export plates when it comes to value. All right, now, it does with all porcelain. And now this was a very interesting thing. This was two 18th century plates. One of them was an Amari style plate. They both are Amari style. I don't know why you said one is Amari. But at any rate, two very nice plates. One with insects on it, which I thought was quite unusual, quite interesting. You don't typically see these. And then this more standard export, like a saucer plate. But very, very nice all the way around. And somebody picked up both of them. This was a seller in Holland, and I'm not that familiar with the seller. Tamatumi ended up selling both plates for $122. Like I said, you can get some pretty good buys between Thanksgiving and Christmas, especially as you're near Christmas. This closed the day after Christmas, and not a lot of people are paying attention. And somebody picked both of those up very, very reasonably. And the same thing goes for this, two Chinese porcelain plates, Yongchen and Qianlong period. I'm not so sure the one behind it isn't a bit earlier. It looks a little bit like Kangxi, but at any rate, this is a Yongchen plate. And in the past year, we've seen this plate, this pattern turns up, the peony pattern, turns up fairly regularly, decorated in this quality, and that plate typically can sell for $300 to $400 by itself. Somebody bought, again, a great buy from this same seller. Maybe people don't know him or something. Bought both of these for $196. Again, an excellent buy, and I hope some of you got these. You're making out a little bit over the holidays, because that was a really, really great buy. And then over here to this was the Rose Mandarin punch bowl. Sold. It was 11 inches in diameter. It looked to be in very good condition. The seller said it has no chips or restoration. Very nicely done. All the way around. This very nice Mandarin thing with this Greek pattern. The gilding looked good on it everywhere. 11 inches in diameter. And somebody picked it up for $780, which is about right. It's just about right for it. When they get up to 15 inches, 18 inches, then the price can get up to $3,000-$4,000. But these ones under 12 inches bring a more friendly price at times. Okay, now over to this. This was, I think, one of the really good buys of the week for the Japanese porcelain collector. Really nice 17th century, circa 1680, Japanese Arita ewer. And it's got some nice crackle in the body. It looked to be in beautiful condition. This was sold by the Ceramics and Collectibles. Sold this. I think this was an absolute steal. $363 sold yesterday. Just closed yesterday. $363. And I remember not that long ago, tankards like this were bringing pretty routinely $1,800 to $3,000. About 15, 20 years ago. They've really softened up, and I hope they come back, because that was a nice example. Somebody got a terrific buy. That was an excellent buy. And then on to this, the Amari Kangxi period covered sugar jar. This was a nice one. It had a couple of I guess it had a hairline in it somewhere. I couldn't really see it, to be honest with you, so maybe just in the glaze. But nice brown dressing on the rim, nice double ear handles on the sides. The finial looks original and like it hasn't been broken off. And somebody picked it up for $310. And serving pieces for tables from the Kangxi period that were made for the European market are very desirable. People like to collect them, and again, I think somebody got an excellent buy, which is good. That's sort of that's the end of the Christmas holiday buying, because things will start to pick up again on eBay and other places, and sellers are coming back. They pay for the Christmas shopping, and people will get back to work. And you got a bunch of auctions coming up, starting in January. A lot of auction houses have their what they call their New Year's auction. Even if it's held on January 25th, they always for the month of January, it's sort of been broadened out. You can, if you're running an auction in January, you call it your New Year's auction. Even it used to be the New Year's auctions were all run on January 1st, literally on New Year's Day. Here in New England, there would be on New Year's Day, there would be literally somewhere between 8 and 10 auctions, 8 and 15 auctions, not far from where I am, every New Year's. So you had to, New Year's Day, you had to run around and try to hit them all if you weren't on vacation. So anyway, they're continuing. There'll be some auctions coming up. When auctions start to happen, estates get sold off, and then things begin to turn up on the internet. All right, and a couple of things that are coming up that will be in the newsletter page this week, if you're a subscriber, is a number of pretty good silks. There's this one, Late Qing silver metallic thread on blue silk. And then there is this, a very unusual antique skirt, but on a green ground, like a very warm, almost like a grass green. Beautiful color, beautiful quality needlework, and it looks to be in excellent condition. And it's got a day to go. It's up to $599. Because I think the condition just looks so good. And then you have one of these big rondelle women's robes. Very nice, great condition. It says nicely done all the way around, top to bottom. The sleeves look pretty good. Maybe the sleeve end was taken off. I'm not sure. There's something on the sleeve might be missing, but the body of the work here, this part, the rondelles are beautifully done. Beautiful silk work. It's up to $860. It'll probably bring $3,000 or $4,000, I suspect, by the time it's over. And then Joni's in Canada has a rather nice, unusual scalloped rimmed chin-lung export plate. This is a nice one. It's based, the shape is pretty loosely based on English silver salvers. When you have this shaped rim with this raised edge to it, shaped like this, it's very similar to English silver. And here they've decorated it very gently with flowers, but gone heavy on the outer border with these cartouches and latticed patterns. It's a nice looking plate, and it's not up to much. It's up to $15. Closes Monday. What's the shipping? $24 from Canada to here. So, if you're in the U.S., you might want to keep an eye on that. That looks like a nice plate, and it appears to be in very good condition. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to mention was this nice piece of turquoise, nice turquoise monochrome hoof form, and it is a late Qing, early Republic vase, but it's authentic. The guy very wisely took a nice picture of the bottom, and here's the red China mark on here. And that mark has come up quite a bit lately over in the inquiries, and so everybody knows about this. Basically around 1894 and 95, trading around the world, countries were all signed this, or many countries signed this agreement that they would put their country of origin on items that were made or were being exported. And they didn't always adhere to it too closely in China, but at times they did. And you will find this China mark on things that were made in 1895 or after, or things that were exported in 1895 or later, but may have been made a little before. And sometimes the way you can tell is that it has an ink stamp on the bottom. If the stamp is baked into the piece, it was done after 1895. But I've seen a number of these where a little fingernail polish, acetone, will take that ink off, will take that mark off. And what it means is the piece was made, and then when they were going to export it, they decided they better put the made in China or China stamp on it, and that's what they did. So you always want to check that if you're trying to find out how old something is and you're not sure. Because the foot on this jar, to me, looks older than 1895 to Republic. But until you know about whether this is a posthumous, a later edition, that China mark, you have to go with the description of it being late Qing or Republic until you know otherwise. But the foot on this looks pretty good. It looks pretty worn. And the quality of the decoration here looks very, very good all the way through. But it's a nice looking pot. And if somebody had made it into a lamp, So it's the estimate is I don't know what the estimate is. It's up to $121 with 6 days to go, and I suspect it'll bring. I think a number of people are thinking that this is older than the China mark. The China mark was just added, but at any rate, I suspect this will end up selling next Thursday for $800 to $1,000. I would think anyway. We'll find out. You never know. But that's something to look at if you like monochromes, because it's a good size and it's a lamp. It makes a beautiful lamp. The vase itself is 10 inches tall, and it's 17 inches tall with the fittings and everything on it. But that's a lovely, lovely piece of turquoise. All right, and that sort of covers it for the week. We'll be doing another video. As you know, we did a video on collecting earlier this week on a Chinese export box of my own collection. I'm going to try and get another one of those out next week. And in the meantime, have a great New Year's weekend. Subscribe here if you haven't so far, or visit us over at Bidamount or Bidamount Live. Check things out. Use the book section and the references. Join the forum over there. It's free to join the forum, of course. And if you have something you want to know more about, you can always put it on the forum. The guys there, Mark and everybody, they're wonderful, and they will help you as much as they can. They're quite sharp, and they will give you help on dating and identifying things if you're not certain. And if you can't get anywhere there, use the identification assistant inquiry form. We'll help you. It's on the homepage. All right. Have a great weekend, and talk to you all next week. All right. Bye-bye.